stood through 2 world wars. It has stood through 24 presidential administrations. It has stood through the invention of radio, television, and the first man on the moon. But more important than what this building has stood through is what it stands for.
Years ago. Ira Sanchik gives us a sneak preview in tonight's Prime Spot.
The choir is one of hammers. The music now heard from power saws, not a church organ.
It's overwhelming.
But in St. Josephat Basilica, artist Andy DeWeerdt didn't have to look far for inspiration. DeWeerdt is one of 21 craftsmen who spent the past year restoring this Catholic church. A task so lovingly undertaken, the word restoration doesn't seem appropriate. DeWeerdt describes it in a more religious vein.
Their ambitious feat of resurrecting it.
The church on Milwaukee's near south side is a mini replica of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, complete with murals originally painted by an artist from the Vatican. Some know the beauty and history of this church well.
A lot of people have spent their whole life in this church.
Others may not realize what lies inside.
But mainly you get, oh, is that the one I drive by on the freeway on the way to the airport?
DeWeerdt suggests next time they stop in.
We've frozen a time when things were done with by hand and laborsome and with crews of many men working countless hours, you know, on a project like this.
As the last panel of stained glass is carefully set, it is perhaps fitting that the reopening of St. Josephat Basilica will be Easter Sunday, a day the choir will sing in praise of resurrection and the beauty of what used to be, living once again. Myra Sanchik, Fox 6 News, Milwaukee.
You know, as a designer, I'm often asked what's the easiest and most economical way to change a room. And I always say, paint. Well, this next story is a perfect example of what I mean. See how a little paint can go a long way in turning fairly ordinary rooms into pretty terrific spaces. For Milwaukee residents Julie Tolan and her husband Mark Wiesman, living in the city is the only way to go. Even with young children, they still feel city life is better than being in the suburbs.
We love the opportunities it affords us. We can walk to, there's a great little area a few blocks from here where we grocery shop and go to theater, and downtown, which has all of the various amenities of any big city. So we can get anywhere we want in just a few minutes, and we really like urban life.
The only drawback was finding a big enough place they could afford. That's what led them to a 2-bedroom condo in this 1920s era building.
The space in this, both the high ceilings, 9+ feet, and the large rooms, we didn't find in any other homes, not in the city that were certainly within a price range for us. And also, I think just sort of the scale of everything. And Mark likes to say that I had a lot of stuff. So, you know, we needed a place that would accommodate some family pieces that were like the baby grand piano and things that we wanted to keep. And it has a formal dining room, a great kitchen. The kitchen, we decided, could be the reason we stay here forever, because even in suburban homes, it's hard to find a kitchen with that kind of space.
They may have found the space they wanted, but cosmetically the condo needed some help. The living room was pink and the kitchen had black wallpaper.
With the black wallpaper, it sort of started to cave in on me one day. I started to rip it down, and I realized...
With no plan.
With no plan. And that's when we called our friend Andy DeWeerdt to say, you gotta help us out.
Andy DeWeerdt is a local artist, and Julie hoped his touch would bring a new life to their space. They started in the kitchen. Her only instructions to him were that she wanted yellow. So he removed the remaining wallpaper and painted the room a bright sunny shade. Once the walls were painted, he added a decorative detail inspired by sunflowers left on the kitchen table.
I just grabbed the sunflowers and photographed them. I took them to my studio and projected them onto the wall and designed stencils.
Using stencils, he painted flowers around the wall.
They're fabulous. It's just different and unique, and it really is us. And the girls love them. So we have a little game where we hide ladybugs and bumblebees on the wall.
The sunflowers.
Yeah, they love it.
They were so pleased with the kitchen, they turned Andy loose in the rest of the place. He designed a diamond motif for the walls in the hall and painted the dining room with alternating stripes of pale green. In the living room, he used a wash over the original pink walls. His color inspiration came from the furnishings.
So based on this pillow, we were able to actually work this wash over what was there, which was kind of a rare thing. Normally you have to paint a base coat, and so in a way it was pretty economical in that we could eliminate a step.
Another detail Andy added to the room is this folding screen. The screen cordons off the at-home office and computer station where the girls like to play.
We had these other screens that had fabric on them, but he had always had a vision that something more grand needed to go there. And so, again, we trusted him. He knew that it needed to be different, and he wanted to really bring more of the color scheme of this room into it. And every now and then I would stop by his studio to take a look at it, and it was evolving into this masterpiece. So we love it.
To complement Andy's artwork, Julie worked with local designer Victoria Vonier on finding just the right accessories. Thanks to them and a lot of paint, Julie and Mark have ended up with a charming home that feels brand new.
We love it. We love how different it feels, but it feels like it reflects our personalities well, and it's an inviting place. I love color, and now I can't even imagine having a plain wall. I don't think either of us could anymore. It just creates the atmosphere to me.
Remember that condo we saw earlier in Milwaukee? Well, we heard homeowners Julie Tolan and Mark Wiesman talk about how artist Andy DeWeerdt used paint to bring new life to their living space. Of course, it wasn't just paint, but how it was applied that really made the difference. A good example is in the entry. He first applied a base coat of brown paint. He then used a paint-soaked rag to add an overlay of red. Last, he applied a red glaze. The result are walls that are rich and distinctive and make quite an impact. So don't be afraid to add some color to your home. Even in small spaces, color is hard to beat as a way to add drama and make a bold statement. Well, that's all for now. For Homes Across America, I'm Joe Ruggiero, wishing you inspiration. Goodbye.